Ever look up at the night sky and kind of wonder, like, is there another me out there somewhere in some other reality, just, living a totally different life?
It's wild, right?
It's a thought that's been with us forever.
Hmm.
But these days, it feels like it's everywhere, especially with all these multiverse movies coming out.
Yeah, it's like this idea that used to be like late night dorm room conversations is suddenly, boom, front and center in pop culture.
Totally. So today, we're doing a deep dive into this whole multiverse thing in film. We're going way back to where it all started, like the science behind it, the early stories, the whole shebang.
And we'll try to get into why this idea is so captivating right now. It makes you think about escapism, the choices we make, the what ifs. It's pretty deep stuff.
Really is. So first things first, when we say multiverse, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, so imagine this. Our universe, as massive as it is just one of many, maybe even countless universes happening at the same time. Think of it like a cosmic bubble bath, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Each bubble is its own universe, maybe with completely different rules, different timelines, different regions of you and me walking around.
So like parallel universes, but like a whole lot of them.
Exactly. The idea's been around forever in myths, stories, philosophy, you name it. But the way we're talking about it now, the multiverse with a capital M, that comes from 20th century physics.
Really? So it's not just like science fiction writers going wild.
Well, they're having a blast with it, but the roots are in quantum mechanics, string theory, some really complex stuff. But basically, these theories, they suggest that multiple universes could actually be possible.
Wow. So before physicists were even onto this, you had writers imagining parallel worlds.
Oh yeah, way before. Think Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole into a totally different reality, or the Chronicles of Narnia, where a wardrobe becomes a doorway to another world.
It's like tapping into this primal need to imagine what else is out there, right?
Exactly. And then you have comics.
Yeah, comics went all out with this, didn't they?
Oh yeah, especially superhero comics. It's like their playground. I mean, DC Comics had Crisis on Infinite Earths back in the 80s. It was huge. We're talking different dimensions, tons of versions of Superman, Batman colliding in this massive fight.
And Marvel's no stranger to this either.
Nope. They've been at it since the 60s, playing with alternate realities and different versions of their characters. For storytellers, it's like ultimate freedom.
No
Right?
kidding. No more
Yeah.
continuity errors, no limits on what characters can do. It's a dream come true.
Exactly. You can bring back characters in totally new situations, make new worlds with their own rules, even change how famous events happen. No wonder filmmakers are obsessed with this.
So how do you even begin to show this on screen? It seems almost impossible to actually film.
It's definitely a challenge, but even early TV shows were already experimenting with it. The Twilight Zone messed with reality all the time, and Doctor Who, with its time travel, showed that you could tell some really compelling, thought-provoking stories with these ideas.
And when did it hit the big screen? Was it like Marty McFly and that DeLorean?
You got it. Back to the Future Part 2 in '89. It wasn't a full-on multiverse movie, but it showed us alternate timelines and what happens when you mess with the past.
Seeing a different 1985
Yeah.
definitely makes you think about the choices we make.
For sure. And then, 10 years later, The Matrix comes out. Boom. Completely changes the game.
Oh yeah, The Matrix.
It wasn't about the multiverse exactly, but it explored virtual realities, made you question what's real, and the visual effects. It opened up a whole new world for filmmakers who wanted to show these alternate realities.
It definitely left its mark. And then there's Donnie Darko. People are still trying to figure that one out.
Oh, Donnie Darko, yeah.
Wow.
2001, right. That's a movie that sticks with you. It uses the multiverse to talk about psychology, destiny, free will. So much going on there.
It's incredible how those early movies basically set the stage for everything we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we've got to talk about the movies that took this multiverse thing and ran with it, starting with, well, a certain web-slinging adventure that blew everyone away.
You mentioned a certain web-slinging adventure, and I think you're right to highlight that. 2018's Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse wasn't just a great superhero movie. It was a watershed moment for multiverse storytelling on screen.
It really was something special. What impressed me the most was how it used the multiverse concept not just for spectacle, but to explore deeper themes of identity and finding your own path.
Exactly. We meet Miles Morales, a young man struggling to live up to the legacy of Spider-Man in his universe. But then he encounters spider people from other dimensions, each with their own unique experiences and perspectives on what it means to be Spider-Man. You have Gwen Stacy, who's dealing with the loss of her Peter Parker, Spider-Man Noir, grappling with a darker, grittier reality, and even Spider-Ham, a hilarious yet surprisingly insightful take on the hero's journey.
Seeing all those different versions of Spider-Man, each with their own distinct animation style, really drove home the idea that heroism can take many forms. It wasn't just a visual feast, it was a celebration of diversity and finding strength in your own unique identity.
And that's where Into the Spider-Verse really shines. It takes this potentially overwhelming concept of infinite universes and grounds it in a deeply personal and relatable story about a young man finding his place in the world.
It's a film that works on so many levels. And speaking of films that took the multiverse to new heights, we can't forget about Avengers: Endgame. It was the culmination of over a decade of storytelling in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the stakes had never been higher.
Endgame showed just how powerful the multiverse could be as a storytelling tool, allowing for both epic action and incredibly emotional character moments. The Avengers' journey through time, revisiting key moments from past films and interacting with alternate versions of themselves, wasn't just about fan service. It allowed them to confront their past mistakes, grapple with loss and regret, and ultimately find redemption.
And it opened up a Pandora's box of possibilities for the future of the MCU, didn't it? Suddenly, branching timelines, alternate realities, and the very nature of time travel became fair game for exploration.
And explore they did. With Disney Plus shows like Loki and What If, the MCU delved even deeper into the complexities of the multiverse, introducing the Time Variance Authority, exploring branching timelines, and offering glimpses into worlds where key events played out differently.
It's been a wild ride for Marvel fans, that's for sure.
hmm
But Endgame wasn't the only filmmaking waves in the multiverse that year. 2019 also gave us Everything Everywhere All at Once, a film that took a very different but equally impactful approach to the concept.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was a breath of fresh air. It took the multiverse, which had become somewhat synonymous with big-budget superhero films, and used it to tell a deeply personal, existential story about family, regret, and the search for meaning in a chaotic world.
Michelle Yeoh was phenomenal in it. She played Evelyn Wang, a Chinese-American immigrant who's struggling to keep her laundromat afloat, her marriage intact, and her relationship with her daughter from falling apart. And then she discovers that she's connected to infinite versions of herself across the multiverse, each with their own unique skills and experiences.
What I find so brilliant about Everything Everywhere All at Once is how it uses the multiverse to explore the weight of our choices, not just on ourselves, but on the people around us. Evelyn is confronted with the realization that every decision she's ever made, every path not taken, has led to a different version of her life. And she has to tap into those experiences to save her daughter and ultimately find peace with herself.
It's a film that stays with you long after you've seen it, making you think about your own life choices and the infinite possibilities that exist within each moment.
And it reminds us that even in a multiverse of infinite possibilities, it's the connections we forge, the love we share, and the choices we make in the present moment that truly matter.
It's a powerful message, beautifully delivered. But speaking of powerful, we can't forget about Benedict Cumberbatch's journey into the multiverse of madness, can we? 2022's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness took the visual spectacle of the multiverse to a whole new level.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness really leaned into the mind-bending aspects of the multiverse. We're talking alternate dimensions with completely different laws of physics, strange creatures, and even glimpses of terrifying alternate versions of Doctor Strange himself. It was a visual feast, pushing the boundaries of CGI and special effects to create a truly immersive and disorienting experience.
It was like watching a comic book come to life, with all its wild imagery and surreal landscapes. But beneath the dazzling visuals, the film also grappled with some weighty themes. We see Doctor Strange wrestling with the consequences of his actions, the burden of his power, and the temptation to interfere with other realities, even with good intentions.
And that's where the multiverse can become a double-edged sword for storytellers. It allows for endless possibilities, but it also raises complex ethical questions. If you have the power to shape reality in other universes, does that give you the right to do so, even if you think you're acting for the greater good?
It's a lot to ponder, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness doesn't shy away from those questions. It suggests that tampering with the multiverse, even with noble intentions, can have unintended and potentially dangerous consequences. Makes you think, right? With all this jumping between universes, meeting other versions of yourself, does anything you do even matter? Like, if there's a reality where everything's different anyway, what's the point?
Yeah, that's something a lot of these multiverse stories try to deal with. It's like the multiverse becomes this, like, metaphor for just being human.
How so?
Well, we're always making choices, right? Big ones, little ones, and they shape our lives. But we can't help but wonder, what if I did this? What if I chose that?
We all have those moments, those what ifs. It's like we're all living in our own personal multiverses, and these movies just put those what ifs on the big screen.
Exactly. Our lives are full of surprises, good and bad, and you realize even small choices can have huge consequences. And sometimes those unexpected twists are what make life interesting, you know?
Totally. Speaking of interesting, the technology to even show this stuff on screen is incredible. The visuals in these movies are just out of this world. But it's not just about the spectacle. It's how they use those effects to make you feel something, to tell a story.
Oh, absolutely. Like in Spider-Verse, it wasn't just that each Spider-Man looked different, the animation style. It actually reflected who they were, their world. It was like art.
And then there's Doctor Strange, the scale of it, those crazy dimensions, like something out of a dream.
And the sound, the music, you can't forget that. It's not just background noise. It pulls you into those other worlds.
It's everything working together. But beyond all the technical stuff, what's really fascinating is how the multiverse is changing storytelling, how it's affecting franchises.
It's been wild to watch, especially with Marvel and DC. They're using it to revisit classic characters, give them new life, without being stuck in the same old story.
It's a whole new level of storytelling. But are there downsides?
Hmm.
What happens when you have infinite possibilities, endless timelines? Does it all get a bit messy?
It can, definitely. If it's not done well, it's just chaos. Too complicated, and you lose that sense of risk.
Right. If someone dies, but there's a million other universes where they didn't, who cares?
Right. The best stories, they find that balance. You explore the crazy possibilities, but you keep it grounded in characters we connect with, themes that mean something.
So is this multiverse thing here to stay?
I think so. It speaks to something deep in us, this curiosity about the universe, the what ifs. But like anything, it'll keep changing. Filmmakers will find new ways to use it, push boundaries.
Makes you wonder what we'll see next. What new worlds are out there? What versions of ourselves might we meet?
And what will those encounters teach us about, well, everything? Our choices, our reality, what it means to be human.
It's a journey into the unknown, and we're just getting started. So next time you're looking up at the stars, feeling that sense of wonder, remember, it's not just space you're looking at, it's the infinite potential of the multiverse. And who knows what stories are waiting to be discovered out there.